For a guy who talks a lot about happiness, I think I something that I've been doing a poor job of is explaining why your happiness matters to me. What does your life have to do with me? What does your happiness have to do with benefiting me? So, of course, this is my business, right? So, when I help you find happiness using my paid services, of course, it monetarily benefits me. But beyond that, there's a lot of things that I do for free, no cost, right? And there's a lot of things that I invest time in. And if you look at my Discord, I talk with a lot of my people, and it's not because all about financial transactions, but I'm gonna admit, yeah, financial transactions is important because after all, again, this is my business, right? But why your happiness matters to me, I think I can explain it in terms of kind of like two layers. The first layer is about my experience, right? Okay, so if you have had a particular illness, you know when another person is going through that same illness, you kind of feel it too, right? So, for example, food poisoning. I've had horrible food poisoning. I still viscerally remember to this day. My wife and I both shiver at the idea of food poisoning because we had it together. Also, COVID. I had COVID. It was super fucking bad. Strep throat. I get strep throat a lot, and so I suffer a lot from strep throat. So when other people get it, I know how horrible that feels, and therefore, what do I want to do? I want to offer advice in order to make them feel better because why? I know how bad it feels. So on one end, it is me focused, right? Right? Because like, oh man, I know how much that sucks. And but now that but for example, like food poisoning, I can't immediately get you out of food poisoning, right? You have to kind of wait for the meds to kick in and you have to flush your system, so to speak. But with happiness, really, if you wanted to, you can just find it like that instant, right? And so that is something that I can really, really offer you with a lot of confidence. And therefore, I know that happiness is good. So far, nobody has complained to me because they're happy. 100% success rate. Pretty sweet, right? So that's why the offering of happiness to you feels good to me. Now, on the second layer, it's more about the world, right? So, the reason why I was able to find happiness in my life, the reason why I was so willing to find happiness in my life, is because I was suffering that much. I hated everything. I had very low motivation, but I think more than anything, I was so spiteful. I resented everybody because they were more successful than me, because they were less successful than me, because they were better looking than me, because they were worse looking than me. So with every person I encountered, I would judge, and then because of this, general unhappiness with everything, I would suffer a lot, right? Okay, but if I'm suffering alone, that's a different story. But what do I do as an individual who is suffering when I interact with the world? I seep that energy out into the world, right? My wife and I, we don't really fight anymore. But do you know how many stupid fights I have instigated because I was suffering? Because I was in a bad mood, because I was judgmental, it's really no reason to fight over, but I instigate. Why? Because I'm in that mood. I'm already in that mood of feeling bad. So the next like little negative stimulus comes in, I get angry, right? If you think about every, world star video that you encounter on the internet, right? Like I'm talking about fight videos and the altercation videos. It really starts with something simple, like bumping into another person and not apologizing, like a simple misunderstanding about, an encounter, or like the person. I know a lot of the pranks these days are over the line, but then someone does something in jest and then they get a swift punch to the face. Okay, so if you really think about it, all those violent reactions, all that anger, Do you think it comes from a happy place? Violence and all the negative energy that you see, and I'm not trying to see the world as this positive negative binary, but the thing is, like, all the things that make you frown that come from the outside usually tends to be the byproduct of an action from somebody who is not happy with their lives. And because we live in our mind, we tend to think, but we don't do that, right? Other people do that, but we don't do that. Other people can't control their, and temper. Other people are so irrational, they're so unreasonable, and they get so angry. But the really inconvenient truth is that there's nothing that special about you that makes you exempt from this. So, by you being happy, you prevent arguments. You prevent fights. By you being happy, you reduce the collective suffering in the world by a lot. Because a deeply unhappy person meeting 100 people will lead to 100 unpleasant encounters and experiences that's now going to cascade. What's the greatest example of this? Do you think your parents are happy? So, when parents are unhappy, they have unhappy children. Why? Because they raise their children in an unhappy way, right? And that unhappiness cascades. Cascades the parents' unhappiness, it cascades to their immediate circle, social network, but it also cascades to the next generation, impacting the next generation, right? If you want to be a cycle breaker, if you want to truly be a cycle breaker, you have to stop unhappiness. You have to stop suffering in its tracks and find happiness. And so, by reducing the collective suffering in the world, it makes the world a much more pleasant place to live. And although happiness doesn't depend on anything, happiness is made easy by a lot of things, right? When you have enough food to eat every day. That's a good situation to be in. Is it possible to be happy while you're starving? Yes. But is it easier to be happy when you're fuller? Yeah, right? So, in that sense, that is why your happiness matters a lot for me too. So, that is why I make these videos. That is why I talk at length about happiness, not just for me, but for you.